Nearly 40 years ago, 17 boats set out to complete the very first fully crewed ocean race around the world. Following the square rigger routes of old, the yachts were standard ocean cruisers of the time, and the crews were, generally speaking, out in search of adventure, the spirit Corinthian. For skippers and crews alike, it was a step into the unknown, a chance to take on the elements and traverse the great oceans. 4 decades on, the leap in development and speed has been quantum. In this age of super light yet strong construction, the boats and their crews are driven to breaking point in the 9-month marathon. The hunt for more speed and longer daily runs continual, their quest to win the 2011-2012 Volvo Ocean Race.
Yes, there are other tough races around the world, but they're tough for different reasons. The reason the Volvo's tough is because it's 9 months at a day racing intensity, and that's what makes it so special.
I think there's very few sports events that compare with the endurance of this event in terms of physical and mental endurance over a 9-month period. And the fear of the unknown, and we have to deal with what nature throws at us probably more than almost any other sport.
After sailing nearly 39,000 nautical miles, this, the 11th edition of the event, is poised to deliver one of its greatest finishes. 4 teams still have the chance to win, the best of them so far France's Groupama 4 in their Volvo Ocean Race debut, led by multi-hull hero Frank Camas.
Of course, we're happy to be top of the overall standings with a small lead over Puma, but nothing really has changed in the way we work, the way we're approaching the next leg. So although we're obviously very pleased with the result and the fact that we'll go into the race in the lead in front of a big crowd in Lorient, we know it's a relatively slim advantage, and we're going to need to fight all the way to Galway if we want to win the Volvo Ocean Race.
The race has been far from easy for the French team, struggling with speed and tactics in leg 1. They dismasted in leg 6, but claimed valuable points, finishing 3rd by making it to Brazil under jury rig. Ever since, they've continued to cement their claim on the overall trophy at every opportunity, taking a big step closer to their dream with victory in yesterday's Britannia import race.
The biggest danger for us is if we have a technical problem. Professional sailing, and this has been proven on several occasions during the Volvo Ocean Race, is first and foremost a mechanical sport. So you must ensure nothing breaks. We must do a good job and make sure we stay in touch with our direct opponents.
Groupama's closest rivals, Puma Ocean Racing, powered by Berger, far from settling for second. After breaking their mast in leg 1, skipper Ken Reid refused to admit defeat. Back-to-back wins in legs 5 and 6, propelling them up the leaderboard. But as they embark upon the final ocean leg, 25 points separate them from Groupama, the job to displace the French seemingly getting harder and harder.
To be honest, on leg 1 we never imagined we'd ever be close. We hoped, but I think it's just a testimonial to our team, to the people involved, to stick with it, and here we are with a shot. That's all we could ever ask for. It has certainly become Groupama's to lose. Now we need a break, and let's see. You never know in this sport. Certainly weird things have happened.
Untouchable for much of the race, Team Telefonica have been plagued by unforced errors in import racing, costing them vital points. They didn't take losing their overall lead kindly, and their chance to claim it back was leg 8 to Lorient. But after some heroic racing and heavy airs, their dream comeback was shattered when they broke not 1 but 2 rudders.
Bueno, creo que hay un gran factor de suerte.
There's an element of good or bad luck in this race that you have to manage in the correct way. In this leg, people have sailed very fast, so you have a lot of chances to break something. You push hard and do a great effort to go fast, so it's more likely things can get damaged. I think we have had bad luck because another rudder broke before in this race after so many miles sailed. But anyway, you have to know that when you push very hard, things can break.
Creo que sí, mala suerte sí, pero también hay que ser conscientes que cuando vas a fondo que las cosas se ponen estudiar.
Camper with Emirates Team New Zealand led at every turning mark except the last in yesterday's Britannia import race. However, second gives them a 2-point cushion over Telefonica for 3rd overall. The Kiwi-Spanish collaboration now setting their sights on 2nd place to Puma.
Obviously we want to hit the podium second. I think first is almost beyond reach now. Groupama's just, they've just done too well in the last part of the race. But certainly second overall is well within our grasp.
With just the 500-mile offshore leg to Galway and the in-port race finale remaining, scoring opportunities are diminishing for the three teams out to steal the prize from Groupama. The final ocean leg to Galway may be short, but the Irish Sea crossing is capable of dealing cruel blows. Passage around the South Irish coast, taking the fleet past the infamous Fastnet Rock, an area, as every Volvo Ocean Race competitor knows, where anything can happen. The fabulous sailing city of Lorient, and as you can see here, preparations underway as the fleet gets ready to head out for the last time on an ocean leg of the Volvo Ocean Race 2011-2012. Frank Camas, we're told, is an absolute picture of concentration today. This is Mike Sanderson leading out Team Sanya. What a brave effort they've made right through here. Ike Martinez reflecting on what might have been perhaps after they've rather fallen from grace. Knut Frostad, Volvo CEO, and that's Ken Reid. What an atmosphere down here. This is the official handover, and this is the Mayor of Galway, Terry O'Flaherty, handing over flags to Minister Richard Bouton with the Ambassador Paul Kavanagh. And blessing of the fleet there is Father Michel Laborde. So, Ike Martinez and the farewell ceremonies. What a weight on this man's shoulders. I think he must be feeling the pressure now, because all he's got to do is deliver. But what a prize it will be if he can deliver it. Heading out of his home port. This is, of course, the famous citadel of Port Louis. And this is the state of play. Frank Camas, well, he's sitting there looking pretty. Ken Reid, we know, has not given up, but he does see Frank Camas as almost unassailable. Chris Nicholson with Camper and Emirates Team New Zealand. Can they get a first ocean leg win? It is a very big ask. We've talked to the skippers when they're headed out into the water. Frank Camas, the last ocean leg, and you're looking very good at the moment. How do you feel heading into it?
My feeling for sure is good. We did a very good day yesterday, so we have to stay in the same group for the next 24 hours. Can be very short leg, can be almost inshore leg, a little bit longer, so it's not the same mind than we did in the offshore previously.
What's the plan?
Sorry?
What is the plan?
The plan is to arrive in Galway fastest as possible, for sure.
Now, Frank, you're obviously in a pretty bright mood there. Can you talk to your fans a little bit in French? What message do you have for them?
Bonjour à tous, on est super heureux de cette étape ici à Lorient. On a passé 15 jours formidables et des bons résultats pour l'équipe de Groupama. Hier, une très bonne journée, et puis on espère vous revoir à notre tour à Lorient, mais on a le boulot à finir, il faut qu'on aille à Galway. Ça va être une étape courte mais intense, et une prochaine nuit où ça va être très dur pour tout le monde. À bientôt.
And good luck to you indeed, Frank Camas. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Ken Reid, this is the last of the offshore legs. What's your mindset?
Well, you know what? Win, lose, or draw, we got to understand that we're about to complete a circumnavigation. I think, you know, finishing a race like this, it's a pretty emotional time. You know, there have been plenty of times during this lap around the planet where I never thought it was going to end. There's no doubt about that. So, you know, it'll be pretty cool. Sailing into Galway, like I said, win, lose, or draw, it's going to be, you know, quite a cool time.
And the tactics?
Well, it looks to be pretty much a drag race, Martin. It's I don't know how they've done it, but if I were Groupama and I were writing the script for this race, this is it's not too far from exactly what we plan on expecting. You know, they have shown to be quite quick on a windy reach, and it looks like it's going to be a windy reach pretty much the whole way. So,
okay,
looks like one of their days.
Well, we wish you well. Hope you can contradict that. Good luck, Ken Reid. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you kindly.
Ike Martinez, this is the last ocean leg. What's your sort of attitude towards it, knowing that this is all coming to a close?
you're right. It's the last one. We'll do this and then it's gonna be finished, no? So yeah, I think in these offshore races we've been doing pretty well. So we're just gonna try to do like always, no? And hope that everything is gonna be okay. Tonight is gonna be difficult. It's gonna be tough for sure. So we're just gonna try to do exactly the same, no? This is what we've been doing good, not like the inshore races. We are not doing so well. So we have to keep our good things. We're gonna just try to do exactly the same, and always.
Okay, we wish you luck with that, Ike. Can you give us a little word in Spanish for your Spanish fans?
Yeah, about the leg too? Or?
Yes.
Okay. Bueno, esta es la última etapa. Haremos esta etapa y luego se acabó la vuelta al mundo. Llevamos muchos meses ya con esto. Como siempre, por un lado tienes ganas de que se acabe, por otro seguro que nos va a dar un montón de pena. Así que nada, tenemos que intentar hacer una buena etapa, tenemos una buena pelea por el segundo puesto. Prácticamente el que gana aquí pues se llevará el premio y vamos a pelear por ello. Así que a ver si peleamos duro, lo hacemos como siempre, que en las offshore lo estamos haciendo pues bien y nada, a ver si sale una buena etapa, a ver si podemos ganar la etapa o hacer un muy buen puesto.
Thanks very much, Ike. See you in Galway. Take care.
Okay, see you.
Bit of a strange feeling in the commentary box today that this is the last of these offshore legs that we're going to be commentating on, and it's been, as Ken Reid was saying, a marathon, a 9-month marathon. In the commentary box with me, world champion sailor Peter Lester, and Peter, it's a pretty strange feeling, isn't it, that this is the last one?
Well, it is, and you know, what a one to finish with, to be honest, and really the heart of sailing, and especially offshore sailing here in Lorient. It's been a wonderful stopover. Conditions have been pretty cold, but the breeze has always been up. We had a great race yesterday, and now we're in for the final leg from Lorient to Galway. We're going to start this one off with a reaching type start. We'll go to the course animation. Essentially it's a triangle around the bay and then heading off to Galway. So we start with a reaching start, out round Mark 1, round back to 2 in the start finishing area, out to 3, and then there's an upwind leg from 3 and then round the bay and off. So conditions wise, we can see there's plenty of wind between Lorient heading over towards Fastnet Rock off the southern end of Ireland, and then a run into the finish in Galway.
Now we're broadcasting to you from the Kerguelen Sailing Centre, which is L'Amour Plage, just outside Lorient. And out on the water, though, we have Sam Davies, the legendary non-stop solo round-the-world sailor, who's about to go and do it again. And more significantly, this is very much, despite the name, Sam Davies, this is her boat that she's going to be off doing the Vendée Globe, that's Sabeol. And are you out there, Sam Davies?
Yes, I'm out there. Hello everyone, and we're just right next to the committee boat, watching the whole fleet doing their time and distance practice runs to line up the start.
Give us a little bit of an indication of what the conditions are like on the water. It looks pretty sparkly from the pictures that we're seeing.
It is absolutely sparkly. It's magnificent out here. Just off the Point du Talus, there's hundreds of people on the point. We're not far from the shore, so they're going to get an amazing view. There's about 15 knots of breeze, little tiny white horses, blue sky. It's absolutely wonderful. It's a great day for racing.
Now we're looking at a lovely aerial of the whole fleet at the moment, and Ken Reid here on Puma. We were watching the departure ceremony, Sam, and we looked at Frank Camas, and he is, we're told, this ultra concentrated today. He's normally, you know, might be have a bit of slightly light touch, but not today. You know him. Does that surprise you or not surprise you?
I know him really well. He's a good friend. Well, he did actually say hello to me this morning, but very quickly. He is one of the most amazing people who does everything to win everything, albeit whether it's just a training race in the bay or around the world race. He doesn't anything up, and I think he's mega concentrated. But judging by the rest of his crew, they all had the same kind of face on this morning. So I think he's not alone on Groupama with that attitude.
I mean, the thing is, Pete, that he might have a nice lead, have a nice buffer, but it's still an offshore leg. There's still a lot of competition. An awful lot of things can happen. And, I mean, it's a funny kind of pressure that he's under.
Well, he is, and we just came from Brad Marsh there grinding. We're looking at Groupama. We've only got a 1:23 to go. Pressure, I mean, it's for him to lose, really. If nothing happens in this, and he just finishes the race really in a good position, he wins. Whereas the other teams have to push, including Telefonica. Telefonica, Camper, Puma have all got a chance of getting up as high as second, in my mind. As we look at Telefonica, these conditions will suit her. Martin, reaching start, so that means the boats now, as they've dug back into the starting box, they pretty well now will be committed to their final run. It's time on distance. We can see Camper setting up tight to leeward of Telefonica. As we pull back to virtual, we can see the wide shot there. So down at the pin end, we've got Groupama in a beautiful position. Camper, Telefonica, to windward of her with the black image was Puma. So the way that's stacking up, Martin, it's so important with these reaching starts to get your time on distance. We're hearing there's a penalty. There's a penalty, a flag flying, I understand, off the back of Camper. We'll have a bit of a look. We're just looking here for a flag. So my understanding there's a flag. So coming up to 9 seconds to go, 8. It's all time on distance. We can see the speed building. Telefonica quite early. All the boats even. It's a clean start as the leg start from Lorient to Lorient. We understand the penalty, Martin, against Camper.
Well, we'll wait and see how that develops, and there's a penalty turn here that is being undergone by Camper. Well, that couldn't have been a more disastrous way to begin this leg 9. Well, this is absolutely catastrophic for the boys on Camper with Emirates Team New Zealand, going through their penalty turn, and Sam Davies out on the water. Could you see what that was all about?
No, I couldn't see where at the committee both end, but I imagine it was something to do with Camper being to windward of Groupama. That's all I can guess from this view. But all I can see, it was an absolutely amazing start. I don't think I've ever seen anyone so close to being over the line and still get a clean start as Telefonica. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, great start by Telefonica. They've jumped there over the top of Groupama, and absolute disastrous start there for Camper. And I can only assume, Martin, that they failed to keep clear as the windward boat, and I assume that would be on Groupama, who were to leeward. But Telefonica, beautiful time on distance. Ika Martinez has really put his horrors away from his race yesterday, in fact all his inshore races, and straight into the business here on this start.
Okay, let's see if we can get a bit of a replay of what went on and find out what the issue was. Well,
I'd say that's tacking too close there by Camper, and Camper coming from port to starboard are required to keep clear. So the flag would have come from Telefonica that Camper failed to keep clear as the port hand boat, and penalty against Camper, and really in an offshore race, that's a big penalty to cop.
So Telefonica leap out, and the conditions are absolutely fabulous, and at the moment we've effectively got five boats in a race, because now Camper with Emirates Team New Zealand are going to have to play major catch-up, and that's a bit of a blow, and has to be said that Telefonica have absolutely nailed it today. And yet it was quite funny, because when we were talking to Ike Martinez today, he just seemed to be sort of non-committal, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. I mean, and he was right in terms of his comment, because what he said was, well, we've struggled in the inshore races, but offshore we've been very happy with our performance. And he's right, of course. I mean, in the last leg, the horrors of breaking rudders really cost them the leg. But in this one, straight back into it as we go on board race leader there with Frank Camas on the wheel. And Martin, they do not have to win this leg. My understanding is, in fact, a fourth is good enough for them to win, and that's assuming that Puma has to win the race. So it's all a mathematical exercise, but for my mind, Groupama, barring a catastrophic probably gear failure, are in a very safe position. As we look at the boats now, coming out on this reach out towards Mark 1, we're on the first leg of the essentially a windward leeward, then a triangle around the bay here off Lorient. Beautiful conditions, big fleet. You can see the breeze is already up to what looks like about 18 knots, and the recent camper trails as they failed out in the pre-start. We can see Abu Dhabi overlapped there. So Abu Dhabi got a reasonably good start. So Abu Dhabi must be overlapped with Puma. But with that mark rounding, Martin, it'll be the boat on the inside of the second and third, and that'll be Puma who'll hold the rights. But Telefonica have just capitalised beautifully on a fabulous time on distance start.
Well, very neat work on the Spanish boat, a lovely job. And going back to what you were saying about, what Groupama do or don't need to do, it was quite funny because yesterday we noticed that they were being fairly conservative in the start, keeping out of trouble and just letting the other boats battle away. And then ironically they go and win it. And doesn't that happen? That happens surprisingly often. You're just trying to keep your nose clean and said, oh, whoa, wait a minute, we're popped out at the front of the fleet, and we weren't really trying that hard.
Well, exactly, they were clean, and really it was the mistakes by Puma, and we're on board Puma now with Kenny Reid. A mistake by Puma, and then with the jib sheet ended up becoming detached from the sail. I understand it got cut loose because it was caught on the board, and that was a mistake for Kenny Reid. And then of course Camper really misjudged the ley line to the bottom mark, final mark, and that cost Camper the lead.
And then went Groupama, ready to pounce, and they did so with some alacrity. Now Sam Davies down there. Whereabouts are you now, and what are you looking at?
Well, we're just in front of Telefonica, so we're in the front of the fleet, looking at them going around the mark, and I agree with you. I think Frank and his team on Groupama are really playing it very conservatively, and they've accepted that not to take any risks in this inshore bit. And for me, it's just absolutely incredible to be here, because it's the first time I've watched you guys commentating this on the telly. It's the first time on the water, and the legs are so short. And for me, as a sailor, I can imagine how hard it must be for the guys on board to work the boat at 100% and on these legs, which are just incredibly short. Makes it amazing to watch, but I think it must be really hard work for them on board.
But it's famously hard work for them on board, because really, when you've got a boat 70 feet long, you could really do with 18 or 19 guys to be driving it at its potential. We're looking on the engine room of Camper at the moment as they try to play catch-up, and they're each of them doing really the work of two people. There are only 10 who can operate the boat, and that includes the driver sitting at the back, just pointing it in the right direction. That's the horrible view from Camper. Not a pretty sight at all to see the rest of the fleet that far in front of you at the start of a race that you'd really love to have won, given that they haven't managed to snare one of the leg wins on this Volvo Ocean Race so far. So Telefonica leads, and they're heading out into conditions that we know are going to really suit probably Telefonica and certainly Groupama, fast beaching conditions. Sam, you know these waters well, you live in this part of the world. Anything tricky inshore on this inshore course that they need to be aware of in terms of pretty big tides and the like?
Yeah, although this area is not the worst for the tides. Obviously you have to take them into consideration, and I did see on the start line that there was quite a lot of tide heading from north to south. However, if you get a bit closer, you've got a lot of rocks to avoid, but again the race course is outside of that, so it's actually just really nice sailing conditions. And tactically, you do have Ile de Goa, the island, which is offshore of us, and so you do get some tricky headland effects with the wind, and maybe at the mark number 3, I think it is, you might get some different wind shifts up there from Ile de Goa.
You were up in the air, Peter, commentating during the Pro-Am racing, and the characteristic of the breeze here seemed to be, as you were saying, these sort of bullets of pressure.
Yeah, although not as marked where they are now, Martin. They're a long way away further over towards the Lorient side of the channel, and I don't think it'll be so pronounced where they are. There's a an island out there that was chopping the wind up on the Pro-Am day. But on board Telefonica, great start. Interesting tussle. It was really Telefonica and Camper who were pretty aggressive in the pre-start, and that aggression by Nicholson really cost them. Of course, they were to windward or to leeward of Telefonica, but had deemed to have fouled out with a tackle too close. So we're heading here into Mark II. They'll come round Mark II and then actually go hard on the wind out to Mark III. We've done the start. There's been 2 legs of 2 sail reaching, but we'll see Telefonica come round and then harden up hard on the wind. Immediately behind Telefonica, we've got Puma and then Abu Dhabi, and Camper trails after having to do that penalty turn as Telefonica comes round the mark, and immediately the sails are sheeted on harder as they'll now head up towards Mark III. It's a 1.2 nautical mile windward beat. This whole inshore component is 6.5 nautical miles. So really it's really just a quick sprint round the bay, Martin, before they head off to that famous Fastnet Rock on the southern edge of Ireland.
Famous or infamous, take your pick. Certainly legendary without a shadow of a doubt. Now we're looking at in the background there, you can see all manner of crowds. We've seen fantastic crowds here, and the passion for this offshore sailing in this part of the world is huge, and that's something that Sam, you'll have really experienced. What is it about the French and long distance offshore sailing that seems to so grip the public?
I think it's just the simple fact that when you're, well, especially that there's a lot of single-handed sailing in France, and the fact that you're alone on a boat sailing a long distance either across an ocean or around the world. And I think that's a very simple adventure for everyone, even the non-sailing public, to understand, and that intrigues them that we can do that. And I think the French are beginning to hook onto the Volvo Ocean Race as well, and the fact that it is a race around the world, it's something that's so easy for everyone to imagine and to understand, but something that's so magnificent and huge that it's difficult for people to imagine themselves doing, so it leaves them in awe.
Well, we'll come back and talk about that a bit further on as we look at Camper. Amazing pictures that we're looking at there of the boat coming up to that mark, and well, I wonder how they're feeling on board, because that is absolutely gutting to be trailing the fleet like that on something that they so desperately wanted to win. Couldn't have been a worse start there, but it'll have added intrigue to this race, and for the many spectators we were talking about with Sam who are out here watching this sailing. And I mean, if Frank Camas does pull this off like it looks like he's going to, Pete, I mean, it's just massive.
Oh yeah, first up to hop in and win the Volvo Ocean Race on your first attempt is really an amazing result. But given the improvement and given the pedigree of the boat, first up, I mean, it's obviously quick, but the way they have improved really from the start of the race to where they are now, and really accumulating yesterday with that fine import race here in their home port, they have just brim with confidence. But getting back to this, Martin, they're on the upwind leg now from Mark II to 3. It's into the wind, straight into the wind. We saw Telefonica come around, and they've just continued on as we look out over the lovely vantage points along the foreshore and the cliffs here in Lorient, and huge local interest, especially in Frank Camas and his team, as we can see the boats. So we've got a bit of a split in the field. We saw this yesterday with that group of 4 boats led by Telefonica, Camper trailing. But then you've got a split of 2 boats heading out to sea. And I think the reason they tacked away, Martin, is they're probably squeezed away. They were in turbulent wind with Group Armour and Abu Dhabi. They were really forced to tack away. You can see the top mark, it's right into the wind, and certainly in terms of local knowledge, from the little bit I can glean and looking at Frank Camas yesterday, it seems to be quite nice to go along the shore, and there's a little bit of a geographic bend that seems to happen when the boats tack and come across on starboard towards the mark.
Sam, interesting point from Peter there. How would you read that, given the split that's taking place at the moment?
I'd agree with Peter, and if I had the choice, then I'd stay on the shore. Although maybe it's not the classic option to follow. It's That would be my feeling as well. I'm not sure if they're getting a little header now, Telefonica, and that might help them on starboard tack when they are on the lay line. And I agree as well that, as I said earlier, the legs are so short that if you're forced to tack off, then to do 2 more tacks to come back on the right-hand side is probably more of a penalty than to keep going and only have 1 more tack on the lay line or on the port lay line.
Looking at Puma, really well heeled over, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, Martin. And interestingly, Puma's managed to climb up on the hip of Telefonica. We can see they came around the same mark, and Puma have just managed to gauge away. Now, 2 things: that could be performance of the boats, or probably more likely, there's been a little bit of a shift to the left, and that has meant that Kenny Reid can get on the inside path of Telefonica. Now, if there has been a bit of a left-hand shift, that will favour, in the bigger picture, the longer plan, the boats that have actually gone to the left, and of course that's Abu Dhabi and Groupama. But I just look at that. Sam, you could probably eyeball it. Has Kenny Reid got enough of, has he got a big enough piece of Telefonica to stop him from tacking to leeward?
Just seem to have lost Sam there momentarily. They'll be flying up on the, I think she's on the yacht, on the boat Royale, which is a specialist camera boat, but we've lost Sam for the time being. So
hello, I can hear you again, sorry.
Right, we're back in action. What Peter was just asking if Telefonica is able to tack or not. It's from our shot it looks like they're not, but if you're eyeballing it, what would you say?
It's looking quite tight, and for me it looks like they're trying to squeeze up. Yes, they should tack across. They should tack and clear.
Here goes.
Yeah, he's tack complete, so he's on starboard, but there's not that much in it. In fact, there's the tack complete, but Kenny Reid's had to dip a little, but of course Telefonica is the right-of-way boat, and Puma are very close to Telefonica, so that's a small gain there for Puma on Telefonica. I suspect that's come about through a bit of a wind shift. But if there is a bit of a lefty there, Martin, I would then think, OK, in the bigger picture, how are the boats that are further out to sea? Maybe they are looking quite strong. Heading up towards Mark 3, they're on the wind. We can see Telefonica down to leeward, and then Puma now to windward. Just eyeballing that now, I can see out there, you know, in the far left, we can see the boats that went left. And for me, Telefonica is clearly ahead of that group on the left-hand side.
It looks like that from where I am.
Well, that's the Spanish boat in the box seat, as was the case for so much of this race until the wheels began to fall off, mainly on the import races. But I mean, there's a lot of pride to sail for as much as anything else for the Spanish, because they've shown their potential for leading for thick end of half the race, and I think they might like to remind people of how good they and their boat can be. And it's pretty breezy. Is this, looking at the soaking that they're getting up on the bow of Puma at the moment? Sam, I mean, has the breeze picked up a bit or what?
I think we're in the point on the racecourse where there's the most breeze actually out here to the northwest. As I said, just in line with the point of the Ile de Gois, and it's quite. I guess you've probably got nearly 20 knots here now.
Puma on ley line. In fact, from that angle, they're probably a little bit overlaid. That would have come about because Telefonica would have ley line, and Puma had to just go 3 or 4 boat lengths to windward just to keep their air clear. On the foredeck, it's full action with downwind sails being set up. We can see they're all furled. They'll be deployed at the mark. So the next leg, we're going to be going from Mark 3 back to Mark 1. So that will be leg 4. We're on leg 3 at the moment. It'll be a downwind sail, and already there's work going on Telefonica to hoist the sail, which is furled, and when they come around the mark we'll see a deployment. Yeah, you can see Puma there, Martin, reaching the sail. The Janara is a little bit more open away from the mast, which means the wind angle is a little bit wider. So Puma will have a fair bunch of speed on there. We can remember Puma did have to actually dip Telefonica And then immediately behind them, also just stacked up on the hip, we've got Camper, who had to return in the pre-start. They fouled out with Telefonica, taking too close. And here we are at Mark. So we're at Mark 3. Telefonica still leads as they come round. There's a Bearaway set, and we'll look for that big mast head. Not sure what it is. It might be a code 0. Will be unfurled. But a good windward leg by Telefonica.
Very slick by EK Martinez as his boys, as Puma Ocean Racing. Ken Reid brings Marmostro around, and they get ready to set their kite, and the chase is on. And it's looking to me like that's been a bit of a punishment for Groupama to have gone out the other side. What would you say, Pete?
Well, I think they were forced to tack away, and it's just about minimising their loss, really. But Groupama, again, they don't have to push. They don't have to push hard. But we'll perhaps just come back to that and see how those boats that went out left are positioned with Camper, because that'll be the judge. As we look at Abu Dhabi coming in around the mark, they've tacked on the ley line. Gee, that's a fine ley line by Ian Walker. But as the boat picks up speed, I'm sure they'll be... Yeah, see, Camper have been the winner here. They were back, they were deep, they were last, but Camper have got round Sanya, and they've also actually got round Groupama.
Ian Walker at the helm of Abu Dhabi, and they have done something that Camper haven't been able to do. They've won a leg, an ocean leg, on this Volvo Ocean Race. Camper, as we were saying before, doing themselves absolutely no favours at all in their bid to win this last possible opportunity to get on the top of the podium on an offshore leg. And the conditions that were understood they're going to face later, we're told, will suit this boat, Groupama. Once they finish the inshore element of this, it'll suit this boat, Groupama, a lot more than it will Camper, which is renowned for its Achilles heel in reaching conditions. But we'll talk more about that later in terms of configuration and the like, and go out on the water to Sam Davies, and a nice little climb back up the fleet there from Camper.
Yeah, it's amazing. They can see I can see we're in front of the fleet again, and they're all sheeting on their Genicas or their code 0s. I'm not entirely sure what you call these sails. And Camper have done a good job. I can see them now just not far behind Abu Dhabi.
Still pretty brisk out there in this little whiz around the buoys at the start of leg 9 of the Volvo Ocean Race, and it's in some respects it is hard to reconcile the fact that it is drawing to a close, because this is the longest sporting event in the world at 9 months, and the end is sort of rushing up, isn't it?
Well, it is, and we go to Telefonica, who have led from start. As looks to me as that looks like a code 0. It's on the bowsprit, full hoist. And all the boats have actually left their genoas inside. They've dropped them a little bit on the hoist. In fact, I think Telefonica have just taken it down a little bit more, almost using it like a compromised staysail. But while we're on Abu Dhabi here, see, Abu Dhabi's, they've dropped their genoa, but it's actually fallen in the water. Not really a problem there of getting caught up, but certainly it looks a little bit... untidy. See, now maybe that's not a code 0. I'm just looking at the sheeting of the sail as we look where the sail attaches to the sheet, and then down onto the attachment point on the deck. So we can see Abu Dhabi, they've dropped their genoa, or half dropped it, but that looks a little bit messy. Could be a bit costly, although no risk of it getting caught up, but it doesn't look that slick.
Looks terrible.
No, it does look. It doesn't look that slick.
And look at the water that's filling up into it, and it's. There's potential for damage there, surely.
There's Adal Khalid there, just hopping in to grab the sheet. Boy, he'll have a bit on to pull that on board. It's heavy. There's water. You run the risk of. He can't hold it. But I'm a bit surprised Ian Walker has just let that sit in that position. It's normal to drop the sail a little bit to free the head, so the Genica fills a little better. But to trawl it...
looks like they're taking advantage of that, because they seem to be climbing on top of
Camper have
Abu
actually,
Dhabi.
If you look in there, what they've got on they've got a Jenica, and inside they've still got their Genoa, and it just look and the same with Telefonica. We can see basically they've got two sails hoisted. As Telefonica looks beautiful conditions,
clean,
beautiful
colours.
Yeah.
She always looks fast. She's looked fast for this entire race, and this is very, very clean, accurate and clean, you'd say, Pete.
Well, there's still plenty to sail for Telefonica and Puma, especially looking for podium finishes. So they're coming around Mark 1 now, so they're going to head off on leg 5. The Jenica will be filled up for the jibe, and it's important to get that filled. Then they'll come round the mark, and then if I think the angle, it might be a bit tight to run a Jenica down on the next leg, but we'll see. The sail has been left hoisted on the furled halyard that goes onto the end of the bowsprit. So Telefonica from Puma also now furling as they come in around the yellow Volvo Ocean Race marker. They're going to now head down to Mark 4, so that'll be leg 5. And we'll just look at the geez, big
look
split.
At the big. I'm just going to say, huge split already in such a short time from that chasing pack as we watch Ken Reid bring Puma Mamostra around the mark, walking from one sailing helming platform to another. Over he goes. That's a big split, Sam.
Yeah, there's a huge gap that's just been that's opened up on this leg, and I had my GPS out, and we were just the same speed as the fleet, and we were doing pretty much 20 knots. So it's full on out here, and it's absolutely amazing. I can see Abu Dhabi now. They're luffing up a little bit more to try and, I guess, to show Camper that there's no way that they're going to try. Then they're going to get past Abu Dhabi as well. So there's going to be quite an interesting mark rounding for the 3rd and 4th place. And I can see they're also dodging fishing pots, as there's a few local fishermen have been kindly putting lobster pots here on the racecourse. So I hope no one goes off to Ireland with a lobster pot stuck on their keel.
So Abu Dhabi
got something in it. Right, Abu Dhabi fills, and Camper doing likewise as they approach the mark.
And Team Sanya's not far behind. The four boats here are really close. Well, by the looks of it out here.
Great race going on here in the other 2/3 of the fleet. As Justin Slattery races back to sort out his lines. Ian Walker. This is Camper coming round, and they do slow up, don't they? Bit of a problem at the top. The battens.
Well, they've got a batten in there, Martin, and it just takes. That batten's obviously got, or the sail has to turn inside out on the jibe, and sometimes they get a bit hung up, as we see Robert Salthouse trimming as Sanya comes in, and then Groupama. I'm just trying to look on that next leg from it's Mark 1 down to Mark 4, leg 5, what the angle is like. Can they go back to a code 0, or are they two-sail reaching it just with the under Genoa? I think the boats ahead, it's a little bit tight for the downwind sail, and I think they're just two-sail reaching it. They'll go down to this Mark 4, and then essentially they come back to Mark 2 and then head off on the leg to Galway.
Interesting we talk about Groupama having a conservative approach, and I suppose you can't be in a safer place than last, really, can you?
But I wouldn't be concerned. I don't think it's too much of a concern. They know once they get on the offshore leg, this boat is blisteringly quick, two-sail reaching. And what we mean by that is really a wind angle, if you want to get into the maths of it. Anything from about 80 degrees true to, in this case, around 110 or even 115 degrees true wind angle. Groupama is really quick, and that same wind angle is a bit of an Achilles heel for the boat and shot there on the right, Camper, who always, to me, Martin, looks a little bit bow down. There's a lot of wash comes off the bow of Camper, as we can see there the attachment of the sheets onto the clue ring on the Genoa.
Well, we did interview Chris Nicholson before the boats left.
Martin, I'll just jump in. There's a bit of an issue here. Wow, that is amazing shots from on board Telefonica. We can see just going up to the forestay. There's an issue there. I'm just trying to pick up what's going on. It looks like, now what happens is the jib is attached to the forestay with a hank, which is really like a little clip with a piston in it, a ring. And I think a sheet or something has got caught. Yeah, it's cleared. That rope, which was lying along next to the forestay hank, I think it had actually got inside the clip. So the bowman just went up to really just release the rope.
Team Sania's got a sheet around their rudder as well, so they're all trying to get that sheet off the rudder on their port rudder, their windward rudder.
Oh, it's a bit of an issue for Sania. So
we can see if we can get to Sania at some stage. We're just watching them tidy up now on Telefonica. Crisis averted by Nettie up on the bow. That's Antonio Cuevas Mons. Nettie's his nickname. He's up the forestay doing their work as they get their act together nicely in time to round the next mark on Telefonica, and they're looking clean as a whistle once again.
Martin, you can see as Telefonica comes round the mark, now so that's Mark 4, and we're ahead on leg 6, back to Mark 2, which is in the start area. But what it was where the sheet of the code 0 was lying over the top of the hank that attaches to the forestay, and if that little piston hank opens up, it really cleats that sheet off, which really stops the option of being able to tack at the mark, of course, and that's what the boats have had to do. As we look at Puma coming round, they come round the mark as Kenny Reid brings the boat now onto it's really a fetch, as we'd call it now, over towards Mark 2. Once they go around Mark 2, they'll head off along the coast of France, and then they're going to head down then over to the southern end of Ireland. So that will be there. We're looking at Mark 2, the orange mark, and that's so remember we've got 6 legs. We're on the 6th leg at the moment as Telefonica lead from Puma. Been a pretty good little
it's been brisk. I think Sam was making the point about how staggered she was about how short the legs are and how they're having to work, and exemplified by Telefonica, who've certainly made the case. Now I think we're going to be trying to, Camper got through.
Another position change there with Camper getting over the top of Abu Dhabi.
Okay, now on the back of Abu Dhabi, I believe we're going to go and meet up with the CEO of the Volvo Ocean Race. This is Knut Frostad, and Knut, about to do the big jump. How are you feeling about it?
Well, I'm just about to tack first, and then we're going to jump. So, but fantastic conditions out there. Great out on the boat, and I'm looking forward to the cold water.
I'm sure you are. Well, you'll be well used to it, the part of the world that you come from. But tell me, have you done this before?
I've done this before. I actually have never ever jumped from a boat. Most of my life I've tried to stay on board them. This is a new experience.
Now, Knut, we have an informal scoring system going here for the guests that jump off the boat. Just give us a bit of an insight. What are you expecting? What sort of scorecard do you want?
Is it a nice little swallow?
Well, I was never a good diver, but I'm going to give it a good shot. I'm going to try to do an improvised one.
Well, we look forward to it, but I mean, absolutely fabulous position for you to be in, and I mean, really, you're going to be the last person to jump off a Volvo 70.
Yeah, I think I am, and no, it's an emotional moment, absolutely. I'm just going to try to stay away from Sanja and Grubama that's coming behind here.
Okay, well, we wish you well. How long before you go?
I think I'll go in a couple of minutes.
All right, we'll be keeping an eye on you. You take care. Now, you can't swim, I presume.
I can swim, yes.
Good sport there. That's the CEO of the Volvo Ocean Race, Knut Frostad, on board Abu Dhabi. We'll be keeping a sharp eye out and getting our pencils out to mark the scorecard as to how well he performs. We've had some very nice jumps in the last 9 months, and we're trusting that Knut Frostad will be no exception. Abu Dhabi This is it. Is Canute getting ready to go? He's got his life jacket on. He's about to leap. Oh. Well, I think that was slightly agricultural, but he's there. The life jacket's exploded, and that water's not too warm, but they'll be picking him up shortly. So the last man to leap from a Volvo 70, we think. There are other jumpers around, but he'll be getting picked up as Groupama. Well, he want to get out of the water before Groupama comes thumping across him. So there he is, being picked up by the Abu Dhabi chase boat. So that's the CEO of Volvo Ocean Race, and of course former skipper on this race himself on a number of occasions. We're back with Groupama. They come racing around, looking at the sort of pace that we're used to seeing, and well, she's beginning to fly, I think, already. That looked like they'd closed up a bit.
Yeah, Martin, let's, now I think it gets quite interesting, because we've done the inshore race. Now the boats will settle in. They will get the sail inventory set up for the offshore component. We can see already the code zeros have been deployed. So we're back to a masthead reaching sail as Camper looks pretty superb there, but way out in the lead we've got Telefonica looking also on a code zero. They've still got a Jannar on this tacked on. I wouldn't mind betting, Martin, they'll actually go to staysails quite quickly, which is a sail that is really fits in that gap between the code zero and the mast, and we can in fact see on board Telefonica the crew getting ready they'll need to drop the Genoa, and then they'll rehoist what we call a staysail. It's a slightly smaller sail, but it fills the gap for that given wind angle.
Okay, Sam, we're looking at a wide shot of Telefonica absolutely screaming along. Where are you now?
We're just to windward of Groupama, and we're absolutely screaming along as well. And I can see, I don't know if it's Brad on the bow of Groupama getting he's getting completely drenched. And they're dropping their Genoa, and I assume that I can see there's quite a lot of bags and things coming up on deck, so I guess that's going to get put away and stacked, and as you said, the staysails will be out very quickly. And we're on the run now down to Belle-Île, which, well, the translation in English is the beautiful island, and it really is beautiful. I don't think we're going to be on air just until to show everyone Belle-Île, but they're going to go around that, I guess, in about an hour's time.
Okay, let's talk a bit more about configuration, because we're looking at Telefonica, who looks almost like a painted boat. I mean, it's so immaculate with the sail set and the pace that it's going at. And that's the Telefonica of old, really. But we also know that we're talking before with Chris Nicholson, that they've really optimised Camper as best as they possibly can, to try and alleviate that bit of an Achilles heel weakness that they've got on this tight region that they're going to be experiencing now.
Yeah, well, not so much now, Martin. This is they're heading south again now, really, around this island of Belle-Île. Then they'll come round and hard two-sail reach over to Ireland. And I can only guess, when they talk about optimisation, that Camper have actually probably stacked as much weight as they can aft and to windward on the port side for that reach over to Ireland. But Camper does seem to be a little bit slower than bespoke Telefonica, and especially Groupama. But that will be something to monitor later in the day and early evening when the boats are heading out into the Irish Sea. I understand that they're actually going to get quite a lot of wind tonight. The forecast 25-30 knots from the west-northwest, and that will suit especially bespoke Telefonica, and the boat that we know is probably the fastest in the pack in that condition, two-sail reaching, will be Groupama. So Frank Camas and his team are just waiting their opportunity, playing the waiting game, because they know later in the day they will get conditions that really suit them.
Now, Sam, you really know these waters that they are heading into, up and around the Irish coast there, and of course the notorious Fastnet Rock. What's in store for them, and what's to beware of?
I think they'll probably be most worried about the finish and arriving on the Irish coast. quite often, and I looked at the forecast yesterday, and it looks like the wind will be decreasing when they get there. And the headlands are huge. There's lots of valleys and lots of cliffs, and I think they'll be trying to, although I don't think anyone's going to be sleeping at all for the next 36 hours, I'm sure they're all aware that they've got to stay fresh for that last approach.
Well, it's going to be a bit of work ahead for all these guys, and they're getting a real soaking there. We're looking at Amory Ross on the back of the boat, filming on board Mamostro here. Whoa, that's pretty wet work up on the bow as they get themselves sorted out.
Well, that Genoa's got to be packed. It gets put inside a bag, call that a turtle bag. Essentially it contains the sail. Whether they're actually repacking or just actually tying it up on deck with a sail tie, a webbing sail tie, I think that is actually a sail tie, because remember, it's not going to be too long where they're going to probably be under 2 sail reach to go back out into the Atlantic. So yeah, that is in fact the sail tie. You can see the sails being just contained and then strapped down on that leeward side on board Puma.
The spectator fleet is absolutely amazing.
Well, it's a reflection of what sailing means to this community here. Now, we've got a few more minutes on air here before we lose our feed on the television around the world, but what we're going to be doing is we will be staying live on VolvoOceanRace.com. So do, if you've got your computer there, do stay with us, and we'll hang on with the fleet as long as we can until we start to lose their signal as they head off towards Galway. Wow, well, that was
great shot from the heli there,
the chopper. Yeah. From
Matt Connor and his team up there, looking down through the sail plan on board Puma. Code 0, fully strapped up. The Genoa now is secured on the deck with sail ties, and it's so important as the sea state gets bigger that you can't have anything up there, Martin, that could get swept over the side. There's Kenny Reid. He'll be pretty happy, I would think, to be in second.
Well, he's doing nicely there, and of course Telefonica now, if they stay where they are and the way that the points are going to work, they're just 2 points behind Camper. As we remember the scoreboard, they're 2 points behind Camper, who are third, and then Camper 4 points adrift of Puma if there's going to be any changes on the podium. So all the fight for Camper. A little bit of action here.
Yeah, just looks like repositioning of the Code 0 sheet. They've actually got 2 or 3 sheeting options up the clue of the sheet, and we can see that with his
Michael Muller up there doing the acrobatics on the sheet. Hope he pulls the right bit free.
As the sheet, Tony Mutter just re-leading the attachment point for that sail. We can see it's not actually tacked on at the intersection of the sail from the leech to the foot, but that attachment foot, which is a point which is further down, which will close the leech of the sail, is just being repositioned, and that's all to do with the wind angle and the relative speed of the boat. They do give themselves a couple of options with these Code 0s as we come now looking at Groupama, and tucked in. They look like they're pretty comfortable.
Okay, well, we are coming to the end of this broadcast now, but let's have a word first of all with Sam Davies out there on the water. A little summation from you of what you've seen out there, Sam.
Well, it's been absolutely amazing, and it still is, and right now we're just catching up with Telefonica, who's streaming past 2 amazing French boats. So there's the Groupama 3, which is the boat that Frank Hamas broke the Trophy Jules Verne record 2 years ago, next to the Banque Populaire, which is the boat that Loïc Perron took the Trophy Jules Verne last winter. So there's a bit of French history going on here as well.
Well, there's history in the making of the Volvo Ocean Race. Pete, a little sum up from you.
Well, it's been a fascinating time to come to Lorient, the heart of really French sailing, especially offshore. And to see Frank Hamas and how popular he is here. He really is a yachting legend, both here and in France.
Okay, well, we've really enjoyed bringing you this restart, this leg 9 start from Lorient to Galway, as the Volvo Ocean Race reaches its climax, the 9-month marathon is coming to an end, and we look forward to you joining us in Galway to see the celebrations that are going to unfold, and maybe it's going to be for this boat, Groupama, and Irish Eyes due to be smiling in just a matter of days. And we welcome back viewers on VolvoOceanRace.com with these amazing images of Camper with Emmett's Team New Zealand lining up and getting their boats stacked up and configured for absolute maximum speed. And I guess that's what we're talking about, isn't it? Getting the stack sorted and really trying to get the most that they possibly can out of the boat.
Well, they need to get, that's right, the sails, they're allowed to bring the sails up from down below, and they stack them on the windward side, and that just gives the boat a little bit more stability, a bit more horsepower, which of course relates to speed. We can see Telefonica, the white sail bags up there on the right hand side on the windward deck. The boats are then once they're in position, they use like truckers webbing straps to strap them all down, because it is important, Martin, if the conditions get a bit rough, you don't want those sails thrashing around and getting in the way or even harming the crew. But it really is a very physical exercise. We can see sails on the deck. There's another sail coming out of the hatch there on Telefonica, and it really is a full crew effort to stack and grind and secure those sails on that windward side. But nice start for Telefonica. They just jumped off the line. There was a bit of excitement between Telefonica and Camper. Camper copping a penalty.
Okay, that's Diego Fructuoso on the back of the boat there. You can see Diego on his shirt, and he's just trying to get away from him to see some acknowledgement. There he is, waving to Mum. And he's got a camera in his hand, the roaming camera, and all these images being beamed around the world on that Inmarsat, from that Inmarsat Sailor Dome that you can see there. And there's another camera just on top of that dome, which is the fixed camera that films everything going forward. Wade Morgan up on the bow, damp work out there, and it's not actually Wade Morgan. He's put on somebody's, yeah, I think it maybe that's Antti Nossiter. He's put on somebody else's jacket. How confusing. Anyway, out there, Sam Davies, are you still with us?
I'm still with you, and we're just behind Telefonica, and I think it was us that were filming that little wave, the camera, and I'm watching them with with envy, because I'd like to be out there myself, and also because when I stack my sails, I'm all on my own. Admittedly, I tend to stack them inside the boat rather than outside, because when you're on your own, it's a bit dangerous to have that stack there in case ever you have a crash stack.
That would be very uncomfortable on your own, I would imagine. But you know, as we're saying, what they're heading into, and how tricky can it be? Because it is a famously awkward piece of water.
Yeah, it is tricky, and for starters, they're going around Belle-Île, so they've got to negotiate the wind shadow, the tides around there, the coastline, and then we're going back up and we're going round La Pointe du Roi, which is the famous point where there's a tidal race, the Raz du Saint, and as I understand it, their course is completely open, so they can choose to either go right the way outside the rocks around the Lighthouse Amen, which means if you've got tide against you, you can keep going. If you go through the Chanel, the Raz du Saint, you can cut the corner, but you really want to have the tide with you. So there's quite a lot of tactical work going on for the navigators, and they've probably already done all their homework and they know what they're going to get. But there's some tricky things on the way past the French coast, and then obviously you've got the channel, the shipping lanes, and the approach to the Fastnet Rock.
Amazing scenes that we're looking at here that you'll be enjoying as well. I mean, they've got these absolute greyhounds going like a rocket. Now this, I think, is the island that we're talking about. This is
This is Ile de Goix.
Ile de Goix.
Yeah, this is Ile de Goix, and there's a very famous beach. It's the only concave beach in Europe, apparently, just on your right hand, where campers just going in front of.
Well, we're just looking at the little lighthouse there, the Pen Men, the Rocks Point Lighthouse. That's pretty famous too.
Yeah, it's a beautiful island.
You know, that was once upon a time a major navigation point for the French Royal Navy when they were in Lorient here for 50 years before they sort of disbanded the Navy present in Lorient, and they're now mainly based in Toulon and Brest, and where with Abu Dhabi from the chase boat, and whew, are they thundering along. Terrific pace.
Yeah, they are, and it's interesting already. Groupama look like they're starting to push up onto Abu Dhabi. Groupama, anything with the wind on the side, she's pretty potent. So Groupama, Frank Camas, who are leading the Volvo Ocean Race by 25 points. Pretty conservative inshore, but Martin, I can't help but think when we watch the skids through the night, you'll see them moving up.
He's doing it already. Got another gear.
Yeah, they've got another gear, and Abu Dhabi and Ian Walker are now all coming under the pump from Groupama. Out in the lead there, we've got Telefonica. The mover, really, the other mover's been Camper. I see Camper's right up alongside, or coming alongside Puma. So Camper, who returned to the start, it's a pretty good comeback if they've are now putting. They're not leading Puma, but Camper obviously enjoying this wind angle with the code 0 on. They've got a full stack. You can see the red sailbags on the right-hand side. They're secured with those yellow webbing straps down onto the deck. And the team now will just have a bit of a respite for a bit till they get down to Belle-Île. And then after that, they'll tack over and come back up the French coast and head out over towards Ireland. And there, with all the current gates, the tidal gates, Martin, as we were talking about, those tidal gates along the French coast. You know, and Sam would know them well. It's about timing. It's about when you are going to arrive at the tidal gate, whether the tide is with you or against you. And the gates, if you can get it right, you make big gains, but you get it wrong, and if you're punching current, it can be very costly.
Go ahead, Sam.
I think the other thing to take into consideration is, from what I looked at when I did a weather forecasting and ran a routing last night, is that they're going to get there as well when the breeze is starting to build. When you've got lots of tide and lots of wind, then you could have some quite nasty seas up around there as well. And I guess these boats might be quite tired after having sailed all the way around the world. And so I think the skippers probably will be thinking about that as well, and not breaking the boats in those waves.
Well, certainly Frank Camas's mindset when he was heading out there was to protect the assets and know that to win you've got to finish. So But also talking of tactics, I mean, the funny thing is that we look at this as a sprint. It's 500 miles, but we look at it as a sprint because of the speeds these things can go at now. But Groupama are really treating it like a sort of, almost like an inshore, aren't they, Pete? Because we know they've done some significant crew changes.
Yeah, they have, and I mean, they've really optimised the boat in terms of crew and put an extra trimmer on board with Lorient Pages going on board. He's a trimmer, and leaving the, just not relying so much on navigation, but I think the point that Frank Camas made, he wants to be fast. They want to make sure they've got expertise and depth in the trimming area, and just sacrificing a little bit of navigational expertise, to have an extra trimmer on board. But
they do still have a very good navigator. They said because Charles Cordelier is taking the relay from Jean-Luc, who's I guess done all the preparation on land. Charles Cordelier he won La Solitaire du Figaro in 2004, so he's a world famous sailor in France and an extremely good navigator. So I think that change that they've done, knowing that they can still have someone who's not as good as Jean-Luc, but who can do the necessary with, especially in this course, because it's a race course that we race on a lot in the La Solitaire du Figaro, and Charles knows this area really well.
And also they got the local issue as well. They've got Damien Foxall, the Irishman, who will be able to pick his way through anything complicated off the Irish coast.
Well, there was a bit of talk this morning about that, wasn't it? Damien Foxall, he's a local, he's Irish, and so if it gets a little bit tricky along that Irish coast, and I think, Sam, you commented on that, the finish of this race could be a bit tricky, the approaches into Galway, so having a local on board could be pretty handy.
I think it's almost essential, judging by each race finish I've done up there, and we've had, I think, I've done 3 Figaros where we've had a finish up there, and it doesn't exactly do what's written on the forecast, and I think anything can happen, and each time I arrived I wished I had a bit of local knowledge with me, and every time I went back it was easier, so I think Damien will be really helping.
Okay, well, we're with Camper at the moment, who are doing rather nicely, actually, quite a good recovery. I think we might be able to have a word with Andrew McLean. Is that the case? Okay, we're just actually just doing a bit of work at the moment. Stacel right. Going up, there he is. Okay. Hey, nice recovery, Andrew.
Just have a look up there, Darryl. Keep coming.
Let Andrew do his work.
Yeah, we'd better just let him get that
little bit on there with his Stacel
hoisted.
Okay, well, hey, quite a recovery from that penalty, mate.
Yeah, we're going all right here. I think we're pulling into Puma a bit too, so got to keep going here. Pretty short leg, so all your mistakes will count in this one.
Now, we know that you've done quite a bit of work in your configuration of the boat to get it set up for this. What have you done?
We've gone super light for this one. So hopefully that pays out.
Man at work. Hard at work.
It's pretty hard, isn't it? He's got Robert Salthouse in his ear, Martin, and he's got you in his ear. I'm sure once it's settled.
We've got a few more miles of that to come.
So, Andrew, who's more intimidating at the moment, Martin Tasker or Robert Salthouse?
I'm still going forward on him.
Just having a little bit of a...
Okay, I think we'll let him get on with his work. He's
so, Martin, just to explain perhaps what was going on there, I was going to ask him actually, but what they've gone there is for a staysail, and we can see that staysail was bright orange, and it is actually the storm jib that doubles up as a staysail in terms of how you utilise the sail inventory. So that sail, you can see bright orange, meaning it's essentially a safety sail, but it has been made in a certain way and designed that it can double up as a staysail. The other feature with the sail, and maybe, I'm not sure if we can get a shot of it or not, it'll have a very big head in it, almost like the head of the mainsail. It'll be square-headed, and we might be able to get we might be able to get a shot of that from on board. But again, Martin, where I'm coming from is how these teams optimise the sails, even the safety sails, as a racing sail.
Well, they need all the horsepower they can possibly get on this boat if they're going to get into Telefonica, because if it stays like this at the moment, then they're going to lose their podium place, and it's all going to come down in the end to all for the final podium places with so little between them.
See, Telefonica haven't actually gone with the staysail yet. They've just got their code 0 on.
Are they getting one ready there?
I'm not seeing it. It's all relative to angle. Yeah, that could be it. Yeah, well spotted, Martin. On the foredeck, as we come around from that heli shot, we can see there was, again, that orange colour of Telefonica's sails, so looks like they might be setting up a staysail as well.
Some beautiful photographic artwork going on here with these shots looking down on the boat, looking down on Telefonica at the moment, and that is one mighty lens and being used like a paintbrush. Works of art here. Every frame a Rembrandt, as they used to say once upon a time.
Setup looks nice. The boat looks nice in the water. The bow just lapping out of the waves, so it's sitting back nicely. And this boat really has always looked nice, and I think the colours will make the boat look spectacular as well.
We're just behind Groupama, and they've got their staysail already up and set as well.
So we're hearing staysails are being hoisted. We saw one in Camper. Groupama seem like they've gone to a staysail, and it does look like Telefonica are also setting up for a staysail. This wind angle is far enough aft, Martin, that they can just jam a bit more sail area on. Boy, look, Martin, we go to that though, and the boat on the move. Look at Groupama. Remember, she was last. She's just rolling through the fleet, and you see the staysail there. Now, their one is not a storm jib staysail. It's a proper staysail, and we can tell that by the colour. The storm jib staysails do have to be that fluorescent red, orange. But Groupama they're on the move. They're off.
They're off, and they've got a grins on their faces to suggest that they know that they're off. Well, look at Puma flying. These are amazing. Look at it go.
They look pretty relaxed on board as well.
Where are you? We've got a bit of a wide shot out here, Sam. Where are you?
We're just right behind Groupama, and I can see the guys just kind of working as if they're coming in from a training session. They look pretty cool.
Is that Brad Jackson at the helm?
Brad Jackson. So there's been a change of helmsman. Kenny Reed's jumped off. They're into their rotation. Brad Jackson on the helm. Tony Mutter on the, looks like he's doing the main sheet. But for me, Martin, the boat that is starting already to stretch their legs, it would be Groupama. Camper made pretty good recovery after really a bad start and a penalty.
But we know that this is the conditions that Groupama will lead up, and on Puma here, when we talked to Kenny Reed earlier on, there was a sort of feeling of resignation. I mean, he said right at the beginning of this programme when we went to air that if the script had been written for Groupama, it couldn't have been written better, because this is for this last, if they can maximise the performance that they know they're capable of, then this should be theirs.
Well,
and with it the trophy. One and a half hands on the trophy, but it'll be 2 hands by the time they get to Galway.
Martin, it even gets better for them, because they'll go down to Ballyheill and then they come round that mark, and the angle back is actually tighter to sail reaching, and it seems that angle is Groupama is even more potent. Anything with a flying sail on, boats like Puma and even Camper seem to be able to almost hang in, but it's really that tighter angle which we'll see later in the day when we're following on the internet, on the tracker.
Looking pretty cosy at the back of Puma, maximising all the crew weight, all high and back. Amory Ross there, the media crew member, getting a few shots of the leader in the distance. Brad Jackson, how many times has he raced? I think this is going to be his 6th. He's currently driving the boat, and he's a real veteran of this, and one of my favourite stories was the amount of work they did heading into Miami, where they tried to take his fingerprints and they couldn't in immigration because he didn't have any. His fingers were just worn thin.
Go back to Camper now. The other little tidbit we got from Camper, and I think that was being alluded to by Andrew McLean, is they've actually lightened the boat up. They've obviously, within the rules, stripped as much weight out of the boat as they can to just try and get a bit more top speed. And Martin, for me, Camper in this condition, this angle, looks pretty quick. And they've really shown. We can see the staysail inside the code 0. There's Chris Nicholson still on the helm. There's our heli shot. There's the heli right in the background. We can see the guys. They do a fantastic job, Martin. What a shot.
Well, that's an amazing image there, and this is fabulous pictures that we've had in this amazing light as well. And I think also we can see behind Groupama is Royale, when we've got another camera boat, and Sam, you're on there with a fabulous view.
Yeah, I'm waving at you right now. Can you see me?
No, we've come back to Camper. No, it's we're looking down on Camper at the moment, and they're looking at us, Hamish Hooper with his camera in the hatchway. And now we're looking at the chopper.
There's the stills photographer there, Paul Todd, for those people. Sorry, it's Ian Roman. I made a mistake. So Ian Roman in the door of the chopper as they bail out. So that just gives you a little. There's Sam.
There's Sam.
We've got you now, Sam. Give us a wave. Come on.
Yeah, I'm waving at you.
We've got you.
And the legendary Shane Smart in the orange outfit on the bow.
I think you've got one of the best helicopter drivers.
Come on, Sam, big wave, come on.
Yeah.
That's the girl.
Well, Shane on the bow there. What a position! What an amazing boat this is, Royale. Incredible platform.
And we're behind the great Groupama as well, so we've got the best view of the fleet, I reckon.
Now, Sam, just looking at relative speed, I mean, we get a little bit of a disjointed view, but for me, Groupama look like they're really starting to stretch and pull those boats ahead of them back. The other boat for me that looks quite quick, not as quick as Groupama, is Camper, who are right on their bow. How are you reading it?
Well, it seems that way to me. It looks like Puma. I don't know if they chose to sail low for any reason, but it looks like they're struggling a little bit to keep up. Camper looked nice, and Camper, I did notice that they were the first boat to be fully stacked before everyone else, so that must have helped them. That good crew work just to get that first acceleration in. And for me, I just think that Telefonica, if they just kept that lead, and I don't know if they've managed to stretch a little bit, but from where we are, they look quite a long way ahead. So I think Camper and Telefonica as well, with their crew work's obviously done them well.
Sam, you know, as someone who lives in France and knows the sailing scene there, we asked Alain Gauthier this question yesterday. I put it to you as well. Well, I mean, you know, Frank Camas has done it all already. What is this going to do for him if he pulls this off like it looks like he could do?
Well, I think he already is a hero in France. He's won the Route de Rome. He's about to win the Volvo Ocean Race. Fingers crossed. If all goes well, and for him that's amazing. For French sailing it's amazing, and I think as well what's great is that it's the Volvo Ocean Race is a race that's never really been recognised in France, and Frank Groupama and now this stopover in Lorient has done something amazing for the race, and hopefully maybe we'll have some more French teams in the future, and for sure I think the French are going to really hook into it, and Frank's going to come back with such a big head. We're going to have to do something about that when he gets back and put him back into shape.
Well, talking of getting more boats in the race, we had the huge announcement this week that they're going to go to one design. We haven't really talked about that much, Pete. I mean, the idea is that you get the costs down, you get more teams in, and everybody races the same boat, which should potentially make the racing even closer than the astonishingly close racing that we've had this time.
Yeah, absolutely, and it seems it's been well received by the majority of the sailors and the teams. I think everyone is of the view that there needed to be change and the costs need to be brought under control, because I think Kenny Reid really has summed it up. He said this is the greatest offshore race, and he was full of praise really for the Volvo Ocean Race at the press conference. As we look at the boats, they're heading south down around that island, and Telefonica have got a good nice little buffer there over that group behind, with Camper and Groupama who are moving. And then down to leeward we had Puma, and we're on board there. There's Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi, Martin, for me, just doesn't seem to have the legs on these other boats.
No, especially not in these conditions.
When they stretch out.
When they get offshore. Yeah. Mind you, they have won a leg. Adil Khalid, coming of age, as we say, the 23-year-old from the United Arab Emirates. Always beaming, and this is, you know, this is it for him. He's going to be around the world racer.
Yes, and you know, I think as a role model in that part of the world, from Abu Dhabi and the UAE, there's enormous potential there with the sport. I mean, they have that, you know, a climate really that you can sail the majority of the year. Funnily enough, their issue is in the summer you can't really sail so much. In the June, July, August, because it's just too hot. For the rest of us and the rest of the world, it's normally the other way around. The winter it gets a bit cold. Winter sailing in the Gulf is absolutely beautiful.
Well, that picture tells you a story from Virtual Eye, and that is that Mike Sanderson's in an older generation boat that is always going to struggle when the breeze gets up like this. And this is Abu Dhabi trying to play catch up again, but that's going to be hard work for them to make any impact. Yeah, it's just about 3 minutes of broadcasting left before we start to lose our signals out here as the boats head off towards Galway. So, Sam, it's been lovely having you with us for the last however long it's been, couple of hour and a half. You're watching the fleet head off towards Galway. It's going to be an amazing occasion there. What sort of feelings has this engendered for you?
Jealousy. I'd quite like to be out there myself. It's fantastic, and I think as soon as I get home, I'm going to be on the site looking at the tracker to follow this race pretty much as near to live as I can.
Well, you and a whole heap of people, we're going to be following it very closely. In fact, we're going to, for those of you listening and watching on the web, we're going to be flying out of here tomorrow, and we're going to be bringing you the finish live on the internet, so on VolvoOceanRace.com. Peter Lester and I will be in the commentary box over there, and we'll have Steve Edmonds down on the dock, and we're looking forward to bringing you that somewhere in the early hours, we think, of Tuesday morning. When they come rocketing in to Galway, and this amazing race reaches its fantastic conclusion. Pete, it's been a 9-month marathon, and you know it could happen. I mean, we know that Groupama have that nice cushion, but the battle for second and third, the podium spots, we couldn't have come down to anything closer.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic, and these two boats with Camper and Puma, who's going to get onto the podium? So, yeah, we're going to be in a position in 30 hours' time to sit and do the finish of this leg for the Volvo Ocean Race, and I can't wait. But Martin, you know, to be involved with the race as a commentator, and the new innovations that we've seen in terms of the coverage, from the MCMs to the heli coverage we had as an experiment, it's been fantastic.
So indeed it has. Absolutely amazing experience. We're looking forward to bringing you the conclusion from Galway, and for the time being from the Volvo Ocean Race as they head off towards Ireland, we wish you a very good afternoon.